This is the story of Hiei, story of the third-eyed demon. The third-eyed fire demon, Hiei, who's only like 5'3" in stature. In the Yu Hakusho world, Hiei was born in the glacial village. In the glacial village, there were only female ice apparitions there. That's how that village was ran. Females only. Um, any males born were sacrificed or disposed of. Hiei's mom bore two children, a girl named Yukina and a boy named Hiei. Hiei being the opposite gender, was called the Amiko, the child of fire who would destroy the glacial village. That's what they named him. His own people, those females did. He's the Amiko, the one who will set this world ablaze, or set the whole glacial village. And the elder was like, "You have to kill your son. You have to get rid of the boy. He'll bring terror upon us all. This village will be destroyed if he's allowed to stay here." That old bitch told her to get rid of him, and she's like, "I don't want to lose my baby," but he had to go. You know, Hiei's mother had a friend, and she was the one who threw Hiei off a cliff. Hiei is one to remember his past. He remembered everything, the day he was born, and all that. This boy remembers everything that ever happened to him. So after that, he washed up on the river, and he comes up on these bandit ogres, other demons. And these guys were looting other demons and other shit. And they find Hiei, and they're like, "Hey, boss, we found this baby and shit." And they're like, "Huh? What's that little?" Because he was holding a little thing that his mom gave him before they separated. It was a tear. When an ice apparition has babies, she cries, and these are Hiroseki stone. Later on, these would be worth a lot of money in the human world, right? But these Hiroseki stones, there was one for Koina, and there was one for Yukina. My bad, Yukina, and one for Hiei, and Hiei had his with him. It was strapped to his neck. The bandit tried to take it, and Hiei bit him, and then he was like, "Damn, I guess we can raise this brat for a little bit." And Hiei ran around with these guys for a while, a long time. But as he was growing up, he would wear the necklace. He would wear the. he would wear. he would wear the Uraseki stone. That his mother cried. And just this little gem, little pearl thing. It was her teardrop, and he kept it on him, and it enticed other demons to come fuck with him, to try to run fades with him. And they were like, "Oh, that little demon has a little treasure. I think I can take it from him." He was fast and smart and played games with these animals and fucking killed these people, even as a little demon. Then, after some time passed, he got a reputation for himself, basically, as a guy who was fucking around too much, running around killing people too much. He didn't kill any of the people he was living with, but they eventually turned against him. They were like, "Yo, you got too much heat on you. You're bringing in unwanted attention we're bandits and shit. We like to steal shit so we can survive and shit. But you're bringing in like too much heat. You know, you have to get the fuck out of here, son. We don't need you here no more. And he was like, he had to leave. And he left. And then after that, he was on a mission to find his sister. Because he remembered he had a sister. However, he fought a demon, and the demon was able to not defeat him in the fight, but have him lose his stone. His mother has eye droplet. Or his mother's tear. No, it's turned into a Hero second stone. And that's what it was. You know, he lost it, and then he went and he found, you know, Shigure. Shigure was a doctor demon. He's the surgeon of death. Shigure said, "Cool. You want to?" No, he said, "Cool. You want to? You want to find your sister and shit, right?" You know, this process to install the Jagan Eye is very risky. You know, some demons can't even stand the pain. Hiei, in the act of, you know, showing him that he can withstand pain, he stabbed himself in the hand and he was like, "Yo, I'm ready to take that shit on. Anything so I can get that eye installed." And he's like, "Alright." He installed the eye in Hiei. Hiei, he stayed there for a little bit and learned some like sword skills from this guy. The thing was, once the Jagan Eye was installed, he had to like relearn some things. The procedure kind of, you know, fucked with his like equilibrium and other shit. So he had to like, you know, learn how to like fight and other things. Not necessarily that, but like learn new skills and other things. Because like, you know, if he would have left right after the surgery, he would have died. Because his strength wasn't back up yet. His health bars weren't there. But after he was done there, he went back to the glacial village and he met the girl or the woman who threw him off a ledge. And she was like, "I'm so sorry. I never wanted to do that. You know, I had no idea that, you know, you would do this." You know, and he was like, "I have no need to kill you. You know, where's my sister? I come to find my sister." And he's like, "Seeing here, she's doing other stuff. She's in the human world." That's when Hiei went to the human world. And when Hiei went to the human world, he found a guy named Kurama. But he knew that Kurama was actually, you know, more than that. You know, after a while, you know, they ended up fighting a demon together. One that was fucking with Kurama, you know, one of his classmates. And Kurama was like, you know, "I need your help on this." And, you know, they helped each other out defeat this demon. And then he got the bright idea to be like, "Okay, you and me and this other demon called Goki will go and we'll steal the three treasures that are sealed away in spirit world. Get these weapons and we'll take over, you know. And with this army, I'll be able to rule and eventually find my sister." You know, he's like, "Yeah, you know, that fine sounds good." Um, they went and they raided, you know, King Yama's, you know, treasure vault and found the Forlorn Hope, which became Kurama's, you know, tool. The Orb of Boss, which became Goki's tool, and then, you know, the Demon Sword became Hiei's. He was able to like create demons with it. Little did they know they had a guy named Yusuke Urameshi, the main character of Yu Yu Hakusho, on their dicks, you know, hunting them down. And he was like, "Sorry, but I have to, you know, spoil your fun and other things because guess what? I'm the spirit detective. I'm here to bust your ass, like for real." And he got there, and he was like, he got out of there. He got out of it quick. But eventually, Yusuke ended up retrieving the Forlorn Hope and the Orb of Boss. Then it was only Hiei. Hiei had the um, demon sword. So he was able to cut things like he was able to anything he cut could become a demon, a weak ass demon, but it's still a demon. And then like he could turn humans into like slaves, and then slowly but surely they'll become weaker demons as well. And he had grabbed up Keiko. Keiko was like, oh my gosh. Keiko was a girl that Yusuke liked. That was his girl, and he grabbed her up. And he was like, you don't kill me, she'll die, you know, or I'll kill you, and then she'll become, one of my, mind slaves and shit. And she had eye growing, so then Botan had to stop that. Yusuke was fighting against Hiei. Hiei only pulled out his full demon form then and there. See, in his full demon form, he has, not just one eye, but he has multiple eyes over his body, and his skin's green. He never used that form again in the series. Only that one time. Against Yusuke inside of, that warehouse. Inside of that warehouse, they start fighting. Bam, 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 bam. And then he has more speed than Yusuke at this point. He's cutting up Yusuke and other shit, and then Kurama comes there to block one of Hiei's attacks. Eventually, Yusuke hits a spirit gun off, bounces it off a mirror to hit Hiei, and he's like, damn, that's how I got defeated. Then, after that, Hiei shows up again later. This time, he's a good guy, or he's on Yusuke's side. It's basically so he doesn't get to, rot away in spirit world prison. He ain't trying to, like, get booked, as a demon. He doesn't want to get locked up. He wants to run around and play games as a demon. Okay, cool. We'll, help this guy out. We'll help Yusuke out. Even though I want to, like, slice his fucking head off. Because he defeated me. But they go into May's castle because they're going against the four Saint Beasts, right? They go in there and, Then they go in there. They get past Genbu and they get past Byakuya and get to Shiryu. Or Shiryu, the blue dragon. He's like, this boy is easy. I'll make quick work of this boy. He told them, he was like, hold on, y'all. Like, and he was okay with it. He told Yusuke, he said, you can take on the boss and everything, brother. I have this one. This guy is weak. Hold on, man. Because like this guy was an ice apparition, and he's a fire demon. He's like, man, this boy's not using ice right. He ain't gonna be able to like do shit to me. EA was holding back a little bit, so he got touched by Shiryu. His arm and his leg got iced up for a little bit, but that didn't stop EA. He had then ran up on him and cut him 16 times. It wasn't like you couldn't even see him cut him 16 times. He was so fucking fast. That boy, like, he broke into pieces. He shattered into pieces. After he had cut him 16 times. He was just a flash. Boom. And then all of a sudden, Fury was dead. Then he was fighting against the artificial, monsters, humans, whatever, with Kuwabara and Kurama. Then Hiei finally found his sister. She was being held at Tarukane's compound in the mountains. He was like on his way there. Like he wasn't with Yusuke and shit. He was just like trying to find his sister. He was like, finally, after all this time, I found my sister. She's being fucked with by these fucking weak ass demons. So I have to fucking, go see what's going on. And he saw that shit and he like ran, to her and shit. And he then went and he was like, okay, he got there, when he got there, Yusuke was fighting against the Tagoro brothers with Kuwabara, and he had his hands, free. So he started wailing on Tarukana. He started whooping his ass. Like, this guy was weak as fuck. Like, even Kuwabara could have fucking, like, really fucked him up. And Kuwabara is the weakest of the, like, squad. Hiei was gonna kill him, and then Kurama was like, no, if you kill him, Kawama would, send you to, death or, like, hard time in spirit world. And he's like, damn, this piece of shit was fucking with my sister. This piece of shit was fucking with my sister. That's not right. I want to kill this piece of shit. But then Kuina or Yukino was like, no, don't, don't do it. But here's the kicker, y'all. Hiei never told Yukina that he was her sister or he was her brother. He was her brother. He never told her that. Never. And Kurama was like, are you going to tell your sister that you are here? Because she was looking for you too. And he was like, nah. As long as my sister's, alive and well, that's all that matters to me. And I what he did. But then he was called to the dark tournament to be on Team Urameshi. This guy needed help again, so he was there. And, Hiei had a great fucking record going into the dark tournament. Like, he had the best record out of all of them, except Yusuke. So, in the dark tournament, oh, fuck, you guys. You gotta watch this show, and like they need to like bring this shit back too. That's gonna be fun in the reanimated version. Um, Hiei went off, so he fought against Zero. See, a day before the dark tournament began, Zero went to their room and he paid them a visit. He's like, "I'll let you know right now that you guys will lose tomorrow. You'll all fucking be defeated. You're weak ass animals, demons. We'll have you, defeated real quick. You guys ain't no challenge. You might be, welcomed here and have your own, like, whatever, but you're not gonna beat us." But Hiei was like, this guy, when he heated up that coffee and then like destroyed the cup, like, and cut it in half, it still had, like, he could have done better work with his fire. So he started fighting against Zero in the, like, first, match of the dark tournament, or not the first match, but like the third, but like the first round of the dark tournament, and he allowed Zero to hit him with all kind of fire. Zero was like, I'm not playing games with this weak one. He ran up on him, he hit him like, he turned himself into a fucking like human torch basically, and then he stabbed Hiei like boom, and he threw him, and then he threw more fire at him. He's like, nope, it's not over, and he hit like fire at Hiei, and he was like boom, and he was like burning to a crisp. But then Hiei got up, and he had a mischievous smile on his face, and you knew that Hiei was gonna pull some shit off. He was like, "Don't disrespect the Jagan Eye. It loathes the disrespect." And then he started pulling from, the gates of Demon World, or, Spirit World, the Dragon of the Darkness Flame. He went off with that move. He was like, Dragon of the Darkness Flame. And this dragon was actually powerful. People in the stands were scared of it and everything. Like, even Kurama was like, this shit is like, he can't control this shit. Like, he might even die, trying to fuck with this shit. But he was like, all right, all I need to sacrifice is my arm. And that's what he did. And he defeated Zero. Like, there was nothing left of him but a goddamn, just like his ashes, essentially, in the, like, silhouette of him or whatever. And he was done. Um, and Hiei won that first match. Then in the next match, Hiei was like, not allowed to fight because him and Kurama were out and they were out in the woods. They didn't get back in time to fight. Um, but they fought against some people in the woods who were like, they knew where, because this was the Team Garaki team, right? So this guy Garaki took over like these humans and like enslaved them, basically made them fight in the dark tournament. But their sensei was like in the woods somewhere, in a mountain somewhere. He had took their sensei and played games and shit. And he was actually the one that like poisoned their sensei and shit too to like finesse them for the dark tournament. Um, because he likes test subject and other things and people to like fuck around with in that manner. But he killed the machine thing that was like on their team, and also another guy. He asked him, "Where is the sensei at?" And then he took him to sensei, and the sensei was taken back to his students. And then they went off and they did whatever humans do in Yu Yu Hakusho. But it don't end there because he then fought against. He didn't fight against anybody in Team Masho or other wise known as the spirits of or the shinobi of Spirit World. He didn't fight against none of them. But and because during that time he was in a tent and he was locked in by some bitch who was hot as fuck, but she locked him in the fucking tent, and he was like basically trying to like she was like, you have to heal up in here, and he was like, well, when I regain my power, I'll destroy this tent. That's trying to like keep us at bay, and he did. Eventually, but he still couldn't fight during that time. But then when the semifinals came around, he fought against two people and defeated both of them. He fought against Mokumataro, McIntyre, or whatever the fuck his name is. That guy was a dumbass. He beat him easily. He was too slow. He had cut his arm off. He didn't even know his arm was cut off. And then he was like, hey, man, I got your hand right here. He was like, what? And he got pissed, and then he had cut him, in half. Like, not even in half. He cut him in the head. Through his skull, and he was dead. Then, the next time he fought was in the next, like, right after that, against Koro Soma. This guy was able to use, these ogre balls, right? These balls had different powers, right? Turn him into an ape, turn him into a like werewolf, a phoenix. And he was able to overcome this. Now he was gonna summon the dragon, but in order to defeat him, he basically did something that, similar to Kuwabara. He manifested the darkness flame into a blade, and he used the sword of darkness flame to destroy him. And that's how he defeated Koro. But he wasn't over. They got past the semifinal rounds, and then Genkai died in the woods. He sensed it. He kept a secret, so Kuwabara didn't know about it. And then the next day, he fought. After Kurama, should have defeated Karasu, but they gave the points to Tagoro's team. as they were playing games and other shit. But Hiei, Hiei fought against Bui. Bui, the armored guy. He had armor and he had a big ass axe. The axe got dismissed. Then he summoned another axe and Hiei was fighting against him still. So, and then he was like, you know what? Let's not use our weapons. And they started fighting with hands. Hiei summoned the darkness flame. When he summoned the darkness flame, he he summoned it, and then it was fucking flying around everywhere because he was trying to defeat him, but Bowie was strong enough to throw that shit back at Hiei, and basically he absorbed the power of the dragon himself, and he allowed Bowie to hit on him a couple times, smashed him into the ground, and Hiei got up like nothing happened. He was a fifth of the darkness flame and destroyed Bowie, defeated him. One hit, and he was done. Bowie, lost, and then Hiei won. And with that, Hiei, with all the fights he was in the dark tournament, he was undefeated. Yeah. Alongside Yusuke as well, I think. Yeah. Yusuke didn't lose any of his fights. But the tournament committee played games with him. In the next arc, season 3, chapter Black, he is told that they need him, to find Yusuke because Yusuke got kidnapped. And he's like, what? That boy is fucking dumb. I can find him with the Jagan Eye. It's fine. And then, they found him. He went into Yukaito, his taboo realm. They disregarded the message that was outside and said, don't say the word hot. Hiei was hearing Kaito explain his territory abilities, and he's like, whatever, this shit ain't, you're just saying that so we don't kill you. So he ran up on him and tried to kill Yukaito, and then he got his soul stake snatched from him. And we go, oh, fuck. And then Karama saved him, and, they got past all that bullshit. It was Genkai's rules. See, Genkai knew of these three individuals. They gained powers because the thickening of demon energy in human world. However, Koema told some shit to Hiei that he didn't like to hear. That he's basically a middle B class apparition. And the scaling of a demon, S rank is the highest you can be, right? Hiei was ranked a middle B class at that point in the series. And he said, what? Man, you niggas are weak. You gotta put me up higher than that. I should at least be a lower A class demon at this point. But you have played games, so I won't help you out. I'll see this world be destroyed if I have to, because this ain't even where I'm from. And he was gone. Then he had came back. He had came back to save Yusuke from Shooter, the sniper. See, Sniper was shooting all kinds of projectiles at Yusuke. Rocks. He sent a fucking, truck. He sent, pieces of wood, all kind of shit. Any projectile was, being thrown at Yusuke. And he had targets on his body. But Hiei was able to sneak up on him and knock his ass out. Knock Sniper out. And then he fought against Yusuke see if he had the resolve to fight against, Sensui. Sensui was powerful, and he was like, I don't know if you have what it takes to fight against this guy. I'll kill you. And then, our Yusuke was like, whatever, man, I'll fuck your ass up. And, they started fighting, and, he was like, I guess you are, good enough to fight against Hiei, or fight against Sensui. And he was like, okay. Then they defeat some demons, and they get to the tunnel. And then they're playing games in Amanuma's land, but Hiei's like not even participating. He's like, man, this shit's fucking dumb. Like, games are for kids, you know. Then, Kurama defeats Amanuma and he's upset. But then they get through the tunnel and they get to where Sensui is. After Kurama defeats um, Elder Toguro, they get ate by Itsuki's dimension beasts. And they're trapped in another dimension watching Sensui versus Yusuke go down. And then Yusuke eventually died because Sensui used sacred energy, and the sacred energy was on a whole nother level. They weren't prepared for that. See, they hopped out of the Dimension Beast, and they started chasing him into Demon World. He even used the Dragon of the Darkness Flame out of rage. He was like, you bastard! And he tried to, like, hit Sensui with it, but Sensui was like, he blocked it with the sacred energy. And then they, Cool Bar had to cut through the net because at that point he was an A-class apparition. Once that part, came to the Chapter Black arc, he was an A-class apparition, and so was Kurama. So he had to cut through the barrier. They got down into Demon World and they were fighting against Sensui, and he did what he did in the Dark Tournament. And he took his Dragon of the Darkness Flame power and he put it inside of himself, and he started fighting against Sensui, hitting him like, and Kurama was there and Kuwabara was there to back him up. But it still wasn't enough. The sacred energy was just too powerful. Then, another thing happened. Yusuke reawoke as the Musaku, with the Musaku blood. He had demon markings on him and he fought against Sensui. Hiei and Kurama were like, your revival has, gave me a second win. I want to fight with you. He said no. Yusuke said no, this is my fight against him. And then they they started fighting against each other. And Yusuke defeated Sensui, though. Even though he got possessed by Ryzen, and he then, was able to do stuff. But in the last season, the Three Kings arc, Hiei got a call from none other than Makuro. See, Makuro is a demon from the Demon World, one of the Three Kings, and she rules over a place in Demon World. She has all these underlings and other shit. Well, he thought it was a he at first. He goes to Makuro's land, and there he fights against all of these demons that are A-class level. Herein, he told Makuro, he's like, I suck 500 demons on Hiei of the A-class level. Is that to your liking? She said, no. I meant 1,000 A-class apparitions. And Kieran was like, well, I don't know why you would want that when he's barely, showed anything other than A-class level since he's been here. She was like, I know he has promise. He will become stronger and shit. And she knew that. She eventually brought in Shigure, the guy that gave him the Jagan Eye. And he was like, damn, I haven't seen you in a long time. But I'm not the weak-ass demon I was when I left your place. I went through a lot of shit, and I've grown since then. I even met my sister, but I didn't tell her about me, because I don't want to. I just wanted to live a life and do what I love to do. Hiei and Shigure fought each other. On Makuro's orders, and if Hiei won, Makuro would give Hiei the teardrop she found, which was his teardrop that he lost. You know, his mother's eye drop, his mother's tear. He was like, okay. And he defeated Shigure, cut his head off, basically, like right here. Then Hiei was like, okay, what now? I guess I'm your second in command. And she's like, yes. We'll wait until Ryzen dies, and then we'll make moves. He was like, all right, whatever. Ryzen dies, and they make moves towards Gandera, which is the land of Yomi. And there, he was like, I can see Yusuke talking to Yomi. Which might have gone high. She was like, we ain't gonna attack them. We're just gonna sit here and watch what happens. Plans are set to have a Demon World tournament. That being Yusuke's brilliant idea. To cast their votes through fighting and shit, right? Whoever won the tournament became the king. Whoever lost would have to wait another 4 years to, fight in the tournament again and try to find, the, you know, title of Demon King again. That's what he proposed, and that's what happened. They went into that. And when Hiei got involved, his opponent was none other than Makura, the person he went to Demon World for. At this point, she revealed that she was a female and other things. She was in bondage. This girl, she had a fucked up backstory. See, this girl, she was a slave her whole life. She didn't know who her real name was or anything. She came into the demon world as a slave. Then she escaped. She couldn't ever, escape her bondage. She started fighting demons with her hands fucking tied, chained together. And eventually she became on par with Yomi and Ryzen. Just fighting like that. She tied her fucking, she put a mask on so nobody knew it was a guy or knew it was a woman and deceived a whole bunch of people. He knew that she went through all kind of extra stuff, and she knew that he went through all kind of extra stuff, and they were fighting. They were both holding back on each other because they both felt sorry for each other. I know you wouldn't destroy the glacial village, Hiei. You actually, don't, care about that. Loved, da 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 da, and you overcame this and that, and he's like, well, that's the thing about you, you still haven't overcome your, bondage that you were put under when you were, younger and shit. And he was like, he fought against her. He lost the fight, but he didn't lose the battle. Basically, he freed Makuro from her, past. She had the chains that were, or the cuffs that like linked her to her like slave past, and he was able to destroy that with the Dragon of the Darkness Flame. And she was freed finally. And then after that, after the tournament was over, he was a patrol guy. After Enki took over Demon World, and he would basically find humans in human world who like stumbled into human world and take them, or well, humans that stumbled into demon world, my bad, and take them back to human world. Like, how did this human get here? We ain't allowed to eat humans anymore. We'll take you back to human world, and then I'll be back here. And basically, it's implied or whatever. Hiei and Makuro, they get down together. They are, really close friends, like very close. But that's how the story of Hiei ends. You know, Hiei had a rough upbringing and other things, but he was able to overcome things. He even, had friends that he never thought he would have. he grew close to those humans. They still don't like humans and shit, but he likes those humans. He was able to find some people who were, cool enough to, call his friends and shit too at the end of it. And that's the story of Hiei, as told by Darius the Green Angel. Stay cool, on the corner.